Hey, I'm Curtis Everett with Saint Studios Films, and today we are going to talk about what is the most important part of your movie when you're starting out writing. So, a lot of people they think, oh, well, I'm going to write this script, and somewhere along the line, I'm going to get the title. That doesn't work for me. So, I don't approach a project with untitled or yet to be titled or anything uncertain because that instills a whole uncertainty about the entire project. And so, whenever I'm coming up with a project, whenever I'm writing, I have to have the title before anything else. And why is that? Why is a good title, why does that start a chain reaction that gets the rest of the production going? And it's because a lot of times decisions are based upon whatever your title is. So if you have a certain title, you might approach something a different way because people are going to have a certain amount of expectations from your title. Another thing, from a marketing aspect, you have to make sure that your title really holds water. And what I mean by that is you want to have a title that gets people's attention. And so what I do whenever I'm coming up with a project is before I start writing it, I get that title. And so I'm thinking about the project, what it might be, and I come up with a list of titles. And these are usually 1 to 2 words. And I'll try to come up with a list of about 10 to 12. Sometimes the title just jumps out at me, but sometimes it takes a little bit of discovery. One thing you can do is the internet has some useful tools. So there's something called random title generators, depending on what genre you're trying to write in. And so you can go online and use these random title generators and hit that generate button until you come up with something that you think fits your project. So what is a good title? Like, what makes a good title for a production? Well, you want something that just really, gets to the point. And so when you're marketing, it's simple enough to where people understand what the title is, and it's not too complex of a word. And as I said, 1 to 2 word titles are the best for me. There are instances where you might have a series of words. I have a movie called "And Then There Was Blood," and it's kind of a play on that Agatha Christie title, "And Then There Were None." And so it just depends on what kind of genre you're doing and what kind of audience you're expecting to have. One thing I would not recommend if you're an American filmmaker, do not try to do a foreign title. And I've done, a few films where I have a foreign title, but I did one time. It was a short film. We spent a lot of time and effort on it, and it was called Doe Esprit. Great film, but we should have just called it Two Minds rather than trying to go with the French title because not a lot of people watched it because they looked at that title and they said, I don't want to watch this. It's some French film or something. But I will say in recent, I was thinking about this right before I did the video. I have a film called Gato, which, technically that's the Spanish word for cat, but that's such a widely known, alternate word for cat. And also, it's short enough, it's succinct enough, that it really gets people asking questions. What is this movie about? And so, whenever I'm trying to think of a title, uh, I try to do the simplest. The simplest is the best. And the thing is, a lot of people get backed into a corner because they say, oh, well, what I want to call it, that's already the name of a movie. Well, it depends about that kind of thing. So that's something, you do want to know what's out there that's also called whatever your film is called. But there are certain things that can be copyrighted and trademarked, and then there are certain things that can't. So, I mean, people can't trademark, just generic words that you might title your film as. So, just something real basic like, orange or something like that. And so, trying to think of how to convey this, you just want to be careful when you're titling. Make sure you don't use a copyrighted or trademarked character as the title of your movie. Obviously, you don't call your film Batman unless you're working with DC making the new Batman film. But I try to experiment with different titles and such, but it just makes it easier to address your project. That means when you go on Facebook or social media, you can talk about what your project is. You can create a group about it, and you can also go to flamingtext.com and create yourself a title card. And so you go there, create a title card, and you have an official piece of graphic that you can show around and say, hey, this is my new movie. This is what I'm working on right now. And based on how you export that, you can use that on the posters for your movie. You can use that within the film of your movie. And it's just very a useful tool. Flamingtext.com. Every time I make a movie, that's where I go and I create what is called a title card. And so, anyway, let me turn this around real quick. So if we're looking right here, you'll notice that we have, these different movies on the wall. So as you can see, these movie titles are very simple. You got Man Bear, Rest Area, Chimp, The Mississippi Mummy, Melee, Gaggle, Fan Base. This is a project, Life with Bubba. I like it a lot, but it's technically not my project. This is a Paragenesis Media project. It has a little bit longer of a title, but the good news is they augmented the title from what the source material book was. Just a very long title, and I don't think it would have marketed very well, but I think Life with Bubba, as for the movie, markets very well. Then this one is Dracophobia, and we're trying to think of a title about dragons. Summoned Into. That has actually been a pretty popular title. Wino Man is something I've been working on for years. Okay, so for Rose Skull, we had a more complicated title originally. It was originally be called The Skull and the Rose. And see, that's just too many words, and so that's why I augmented the title, made it simpler, and I think it works a lot better. And then you have Off the Beaten Path, which that is a common expression, so it is a little bit longer title, but that just really is a different expression. And Cowards May Die, that's a film we have at Walmart right now, but that's actually a famous quote, and so very as you can see, there are just some different titles that we've done for upcoming projects. And don't forget, when you're thinking up a project, there's a lot of stuff that is older in public domain. And so my next project is a take on Romeo and Juliet, but we're altering the title just a little bit to where it's familiar, but it's something new. And so I dropped the O off of Romeo, and I dropped the T off of Juliet, so we're making a movie called Rome and Julie. But see, people are going to look at it and know, oh, this is probably Romeo and Juliet, but hopefully they notice that there's something different about it. And there's just other projects we got coming up this year. But don't be afraid to name your film. Don't be afraid to have that title already there, because the thing about titles is that's how you sell your product. That's how you sell your finished product, how you market your movie. And so having a title is the first step, because that helps you make all the decisions for the rest of the movie. When you're writing the movie, I'm trying to think of a really good example of this. So I made a secret agent film called Razor Sharp, and the title is Razor Sharp. So guess what? That movie, when I edited it, the editing needed to be very quick, very fast paced, because it's razor sharp, and so it has to be dangerous. It has to feel dangerous, and that's what people want when they watch that film. That's what they expect to see. Your title is everything about your movie. So don't be a film that has a bad title or a title that doesn't fit. Just, here's what I do is sometimes if I'm unsure about a title, I'll bounce things off my wife or my dad or my mom, just kind of do some sourcing and see who responds positively to the titles. But I try to just really get as close as I can to with the title right off the bat. And so that way, when I'm talking about the project, I'm already confident about it. Lately, I've been confident about most of the titles that I've had. You just want to make sure that it's going to be meaningful, and when you talk about it, people are interested in what you have to say. You don't want a title that, oh, that. So, anyway, I hope this is informative, and make sure you get a title before you start trying to write a script. And we'll talk more about writing, and I might even write a few pages or write a scene while I'm recording. And another thing I'm thinking about doing is doing some editing while I have the camera going, to show you how I edit scenes. I've actually been making a lot of progress trying to get caught up in the editing room. And once more of my equipment has arrived via mail, I will be doing more on showing you my setup with the Red camera and what I'm going to do with my new setup, because it's a heavy camera, so you have to rig it a certain way. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope you all are having a great new year.